Hello, I am Shivaji Bhaskar, Faculty of Russian at the School of Foreign Languages, IGNOU. I welcome you all to this course, Basics of Russian Communication Skills, Part 1. As you know that in Russian, all the grammar and its aspects are related to a very unique system which is known as the case system. In this module, we will be discussing about the case system in details. In Russian language, expressions like where and where to are often used through a comprehensive system of rules of grammar. To be very precise, this system where we use prepositions like where and where to is known as prepositional case. We use different prepositions in this case like in, at, on, etc. To define a place of action and various other expressions, we use different set of prepositions. By learning this, you will be able to express your exact place and place of that action. But as we have discussed, before going into the details of the prepositional case, let us start knowing more about the case system. So, in Russian language, we have many case systems, and in each case, we have various grammar rules which is applied to the expressions. So now let's go ahead and pay attention to the details of the case system in Russian. There are 6 cases in Russian language. Cases are an integral part of Russian grammar. With the help of these cases, one can understand the meaning or expression of a sentence in a correct manner. So, now let's look at these 6 cases used in Russian language. The 6 cases are nominative case, prepositional case, accusative case, dative case, genitive case, and the instrumental case. Now let's learn more about them and the equivalents in Russian. So the nominative case is known as imenительный падеж, in which the subject of the sentence is defined. In prepositional case, which is known as предложный падеж, we use it after certain prepositions like in, at. In accusative case, which is known as мнительный падеж, the object of the sentence is defined. In dative case, which is known as дательный падеж, the indirect object of the sentence is defined. In case, which is known as the genitive case or родительный падеж in Russian, it is used to indicate the ownership, counting, how much. These are certain expressions which is normally used in the genitive case. And the last one, the instrumental case, which is known as творительный падеж, it indicates with or by means of. So the questions like scheme, scheme are basically used in this case. We shall be going into the details of all these cases one by one, but before that we shall take one example of each case. So here you can see the first one is the nominative case. The nominative case answers the question who or what. Like we already know, кто and что. It is an initial form of knowing all kinds of nouns. All dictionaries give nouns in the form of nominative case only. So whenever you browse through the dictionary, whenever you see words, it is actually in the nominative case form. Let's pay attention to these 2 examples we have. Student читает. The student is reading. A student reads. Student remains same. So likewise in other cases you will also find the similar fashion, but you will see that how the rules of the grammar is applying. Now we will go ahead and pay attention to the second one. So in the prepositional case, as you can see, it is used to designate a place or a person, object that is an object of speech and thought. So with the help of prepositions like v, na, which means in, at, we locate the object. This case is always used with a preposition. So that is why it is known as prepositional case or predlojny padyesh. Predlog means preposition. Now let's see some examples. Anamichtait adruge. She dreams about friend. Switi stayat nastalye. The flowers are on the table. Friends about friend and table on the table or at the table. You can use these prepositions accordingly. I hope the concept is clear to you. However, when we talk about these different cases in the case system of Russian, every case has its own unique features. And likewise, as we have learned about, that all nouns are categorized as masculine gender, feminine gender and neuter gender, and you will see they're changing with the aspects of the grammar. Now we shall go ahead and pay attention to the third case, which is known as the accusative case. The accusative case or vinichilni padyesh, it is used to designate the object of an action. For example, ya chitayu gazyatu. Ya chitayu shto. I am reading what? I am reading newspaper. So gazyeta changes into gazyetu. Accordingly, as per the rule of the grammar, in accusative case, if a noun belongs to a feminine gender, changes into hu. Like you have seen, ya chitayu shto, ya chitayu gazyatu. I read the newspaper. Suppose if we have the example that I am reading a journal, it would be ya chitayu journal. So journal remains journal as per the rule of the grammar which we use in the accusative case. Definitely you will be learning more about it in your upcoming modules. Here you can see that the next sentence which we have here is ya vstrechil kavo. Ya vstrechil druga. I met whom? I met friend. So drug changes into drug. Likewise, suppose if you have in place of drug brat, which means brother, it would have been ya vstrechil brat. So accordingly, you can also think of changing the sentences and use as many as nouns you know as per the gender of these different nouns. Here you can see gazeta changes into gazietu, the ending a becomes u, and drug changes into druga, the ending a is added. So you have to understand it very clearly, the rules of the grammar, and as you know that we always recommend you to note them down and discuss it with your family and friends so that you understand it in a proper manner. Now let's go to the case which is known as the dative case. Dative case or dachilni padyesh, it is used to designate something which is given or addressed to the person or object. How do we understand such case? Let's see some examples. Ya idu ka vrachu. I am going to whom? I am going to the doctor. So vrach changes into vrachu. Suppose if you have in place of vrach any other noun like drug, ya idu ka drugu. Ya idu ka drugu. So drug changes into drugu. Likewise, you also have verbs here. For example, in the second sentence, ya dayu etu drugu. That has been conjugated in the form of ya dayu eta come. To whom I am giving it? Ya dayu etu drugu. I give it to the friend. Likewise, vrach changes into vrachu and drug is changing into drugu. So we are adding u at the end. But you have to be very careful and remember that how these endings are changing in a particular fashion when we have nouns of masculine gender. We will be discussing it in details when we will talk about other genders too. We shall discuss about adjective endings as well as noun endings and their agreement. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to the fifth case, which is known as genitive case. The genitive case, which is also known as Rajichilni padyesh, is used to show that something or somebody belongs to or refers to something. It can be translated by of in English. Ruchka brata. So pen of brother. Berek Riki, the bank of the river, and many more examples which signifies that it belongs to somebody or someone. The sixth case is known as instrumental case or Twarichilnipadesh, which is used to donate an instrument that helps to make something. Now let's understand it properly with the help of an example. Ya pishu karandashom. We already know that karandash means pencil, but we can see the change in the ending. Ya pishu, I write with what? I write with a pencil. Ya pishu karandashom. You can also use in place of karandash, ya pishu smialam. Ya pishu mialam. So I write with chalk. Ya pishu ruchkai. I am writing with pen. So many more examples you can see here. And of course, it is a very rich case system of Russian that gives you many more examples, many more expressions in order to converse in Russian. We shall be having more such examples, models, exercises in our upcoming modules. But before that, now let's go back to the course and talk about case system. And the first case which we started as the prepositional case. So here you can see that the word karandash has been changed to karandasho. So the difference is that the ending we have added with karandash. So accordingly, there are many more aspects of the grammar which we use in different forms of cases in Russian. We shall be discussing about all these 6 cases with the help of various examples and exercises in our upcoming modules. But before that, now let's pay attention to a text. We are going to talk about a city which is very popular city of Russia known as Volgograd. I'm going to read the text first in Russian and then we will have a discussion about the text. With the help of this text, you will understand various nuances of Russian grammar, especially the case system, the prepositions and other cases in details. So, it is recommended to all of you to pay attention to the text very carefully and note down certain words which are interesting and pay attention to the intonation and pronunciation of words as well as sentences so that you can understand and feel the tone and texture of Russian language. So the title of the text is Volgograd. Volgograd – очень большой и красивый город. Этот город находится на юге России. Мой друг Иван живет в Волгограде. Он студент. Раньше его родители жили в Москве, а сейчас они живут в этом городе. Его мама Инна Петровна преподавательница. Now let's go ahead. Она работает в институте. Ее институт находится в центре города. Его папа Антон Николаевич врач. Он работает в больнице. Эта больница находится недалеко. Его старшая сестра Мария учится в университете. Она живет в общежитии. So here you have seen a text about Volgograd, but our main emphasis in this text is to use as many as prepositions as we can. So now let's go back to the beginning of the text and pay attention to certain sentences where we have used the prepositions. So before I read the text again, we will also be discussing about the text with the help of English, and as and when required, we shall see the sentences where we have used the prepositions. So please pay attention to the text once again. Volgograd – очень большой и красивый город. Volgograd is very big and beautiful city. Этот город находится на юге России. This city is situated at the south of Russia. So, на юге России, at the, on the south of Russia. Mój друг Иван живет в Волгограде. My friend Ivan живет, lives in Volgograd. My friend Ivan lives in Volgograd. Он студент. He is a student. Раньше его родители жили в Москве. Earlier, his parents lived in Moscow. А сейчас они живут в этом городе. And now they live in this city, which means they live in Volgograd. So here you can see certain constructions. Мой друг Иван живет где? Where does my friend Ivan live? Иван живет в Волгограде. So he lives in в Волгограде. Он студент. Раньше его родители жили. So жить, the verb to live, has been conjugated in the past form for plural жили в Москве. So Moskva, which means Moscow, the capital of Russia, changes into в Москве. А сейчас они живут в этом городе. And now they live in this city, в этом городе. Его мама Инна Петровна преподавательница. His mother, whose name is Inna Petrovna, преподавательница. His mother, Inna Petrovna, is a lady professor, преподавательница. As we already know, for male professor we have преподаватель, and for lady professor we have преподавательница. So you also pay attention to some of the words, expressions and vocabulary which we use in these texts. Alright, I hope some of the constructions of the Pradlojni Padesh or the prepositional case is clear to you. Now we will go ahead to the second part of the text and pay attention to some of the important words and expressions. The second part of the text is Она работает в институте. So Ana means she. It is indicated for whom? For Inna Petrovna, mother of Ivan. Она работает в институте. Ее институт находится где? So находится means situated. The question is where. So to supplement the question где, we use preposition в центре. Где? В центре города. In the center of what? So we have the genitive case центре города. Город changes into города. Его папа Антон Николаевич. So his father Anton Nikolaevich врач. His father Anton Nikolaevich is a doctor, врач. Он работает в больнице. So his father Anton Nikolaevich is a doctor. He works, работает в больнице, in a hospital. Больница changes into больнице. Эта больница находится недалеко. This hospital is situated недалеко, not very far. Его старшая сестра Мария учится где? His elder sister Maria studies where? Где? В университете. In the university. Она живет в общежитии. Where does she live? She lives in в общежитии, in hostel. So these are some of the examples which you have learned in this text, where we have used the prepositions as well as the conjugation of verbs, and you have seen the professions. For example, преподавательница, we have seen, then врач, etc. Then you have also seen some of the preposition case, в университете, больнице, в центре, etc. So likewise, you can also go through the text properly and underline all such sentences where we have used the prepositions v and na. I hope this concept is absolutely clear to you all. Now we shall go ahead and pay attention to another text. In this text, we are going to talk about a family and what kind of life they have. Alright, so please pay attention to the text. Сегодня воскресенье. Вся семья отдыхает. Мама, папа и младшая сестра идут в парк. А Иван идет на стадион. Сегодня на стадионе играют футбольные команды. Dinamo и Spartak. Here in this text we have again used different kind of sentences where you will find prepositions. But before that, let's pay attention to the meaning of the text. Сегодня воскресенье. Today is Sunday. Вся семья отдыхает. The entire family is taking rest. Mama, Papa и младшая сестра идут в парк. Mother, father and the younger sister going to park. А Иван идет на стадион. And Ivan is going to the stadium. Сегодня на стадионе играют футбольные команды. Today at the stadium, football teams are playing. The name is Dinamo и Spartak. So here, if you pay attention to certain constructions where we have used certain verbs like идти, and the conjugated form is Mama, Papa и младшая сестра идут. Куда? So the question is куда, which comes in the case, preposition case of course, but it is widely used in глаголы движения, which is known as verbs of motion. So идти has been changed into conjugated form for plural. Они идут в парк. They are going to the park. А Иван идет. Куда? Иван идет на стадион. Here you can also pay attention to this verb находится, which we have used in a conjugated form. Please pay attention to the conjugation of this verb находится while I conjugate it for you. Я нахожусь, ты находишься, она находится, мы находимся, вы находитесь, and они находятся. So this is a very basic rule in Russian grammar. For making any sentence, you have to use verb. And these verbs are conjugated in a similar fashion. However, all verbs are categorized into different categories depending upon their ending. But however, in this case, we have the verb находится, and there you can conjugate as I have conjugated it for you. Now let's pay attention to this verb находится once again before we go ahead. Я нахожусь, ты находишься, она находится, мы находимся, вы находитесь, and они находятся. You can change it as per the requirement of the sentences. Now let's go ahead and pay attention to the verb находится and its nuance. The verb находится is more often used in third person singular находится and plural number находятся. For example, музей находится в центре. Эти фабрики находятся на востоке Дели. So here in these two cases we have seen that находится and находятся has been used as per the context of the sentence in singular as well as in plural. So now, as we have discussed various other forms of different verbs of Russian, we will pay attention to their conjugations one by one. So here I would like to take your attention to certain verbs which we use oftenly in our text, which we have covered, such as rich and itchy. As you can see, rich means to live and itchy means to go. Now let's pay attention to their conjugation and then we will see what is the difference. However, very basic difference of rich and itchy is that rich we oftenly use in the prepositional case жить где, live where, and itchy means to go, where to, куда. So this is the basic relation between these two different verbs. However, we will see that how they are conjugated. Жить. Я живу. Ты живешь. Он, она живет. Мы живем. Вы живете. And они живут. Means I live. Ты живешь means you live. Он, она живет means he or she lives. Мы живем means we live. Вы живете means you live, plural. And они живут means they live. Accordingly, if you pay attention to the verb идти, we can conjugate it like that. Я иду, ты идешь, он, она идет, мы идем, вы идете, они идут. I go, you go, he, she goes, we go, you go, and they go. So accordingly, you can use as per the context of the situation, context of the sentence, and then use it properly. However, the basic difference between the verbs where we use preposition like va and na, the ending of the noun changes, whereas in ichi and khajij, or the verbs of motion where the question is kuda, the ending in certain cases remains same, like он идет в парк. Он идет в парк, he is going to the park. Whereas if we use the same construction with играть, он играет в парке, he is playing in the park. So this is the basic difference, very interesting, and I am very sure that all of you will definitely enjoy these kind of different aspects of different verbs which we use in Russian. However, with the help of these texts which we have learned in this module, is going to help you a lot with the framing of different simple sentences. My recommendation to you all is to note them down and prepare your own sentences with the help of existing vocabulary, words and expressions which you have learned in the previous modules. We shall be discussing more about verbs in our upcoming modules, and we will see that how these different verbs are conjugated. We will also be making different sentences with the help of these conjugated form of verbs, and we will see the relationship between the conjugated forms of verbs as well as the nouns and adjectives. I hope you will all enjoy the upcoming modules as well. Thank you.